Now that's more like it, Netflix. You had me worried there for a little while. I was wondering what the hell you were thinking when you came out with Another Life, a show so god-awful even Katie Sackhoff couldn't save it. But after what I just watched, I think we can be friends again. Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance tells the story of the fantasy world of Thra, populated entirely by puppets as it turns out, where the heart of the world, the Crystal of Truth, is controlled by the evil Skeksis, who hold dominion over Thra and its native inhabitants, the peaceful Gelfling. The Skeksis have secretly been abusing the crystal for their own evil purposes, which has caused the land and the creatures to become corrupted by a magical blight known as the Darkening. But when a Gelfling castle guard discovers that the Skeksis are not the benevolent rulers they were believed to be, he sets out on a mission to start the Age of Resistance. This series is a prequel to the Jim Henson production The Dark Crystal, made way back in the day. You don't need to have seen it to understand Age of Resistance, though I would recommend watching it on Netflix because it does clarify a few things, and it will add to your enjoyment. The Dark Crystal movie always felt like there was a much larger story there and we were only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Age of Resistance expands on the story and the mythology of that film in a really wonderful way. Let's get it straight right off the bat. I had a blast with Age of Resistance. This show is glorious. If you love Farscape, if you love the Muppets, if you love Yoda from the original Star Wars trilogy, anything that uses puppets in a fantasy-type setting, Age of Resistance is gonna blow you away. I've never seen puppetry on a scale like this before, or used this elaborately either. In current year, where everything is done with CG now, it's really become a lost art. And that's a shame because there's a charm to this project that I think would have been lost if they'd done it all with computers. I can't even count how many puppets they must have made for this thing. There's so many different characters and races with distinctive looks and body languages and ways of moving and talking. It's really impressive what they did here. There are moments when they might be swapped out for CG or people in costumes, but I'd say probably a good 95% of the time it's all puppets. And they're fantastic. My one nitpick is that the puppets' faces aren't incredibly expressive, but they more than make up for that with an absolutely stellar voice cast. The cast they assembled for this thing is unbelievable. Taron Egerton, Jason Isaacs, Mark Hamill, Anya Taylor-Joy, Simon Pegg, Keegan-Michael Key, Natalie Emmanuel, Natalie Dormer, Lena Headey. I mean, it goes on and on. The first episode starts with a short narration to set up the story. It's maybe one page of dialogue tops. They got Sigourney Weaver to do it. To voice one page of narration. That's the caliber of voice acting they were aiming for, and it's effective as hell. The cast conveys so much emotion in this show. There were emotional scenes when I got misty-eyed because the voice acting was so damn good. And that's from a show about puppets, for crying out loud. And that high quality extends across the board. Visually, this show is absolutely stunning. Watching the first episode, my jaw just dropped open. The sets they built for this thing, like the underground Groton Village or the Gelfling Library, there's so much color and detail put into everything with so many different set pieces, from the lush forest to the snowy mountains to the barren desert. I don't know how much of that was practical and how much was CG, but someone better win an Emmy for this thing because it just looks beautiful. And the soundtrack is too. The music in this show is enchanting. As soon as I finished the first episode, I was already Googling the OST to see if I could download it somewhere. Haven't found it yet. And I'm pissed about that. Honestly, I cannot think of one aspect of the production side of things that is not fantastic. I would recommend it on that basis alone, and for the most part the writing holds up too. You'd think that for a show that seems generally aimed at a family audience that it wouldn't get too intense. It does. I would even say that you might not want really young kids to watch this because it actually gets pretty dark at times. Characters die, some in pretty brutal ways. I mean, they really go there. And there are some plot twists here that genuinely surprised me. Like, I did not expect the story to be as mature and as smart as it is, but they're not talking down to the audience here. They're respecting the fans' intelligence by crafting a really good story, and it's not often you see that in shows like this. And sure, it's your basic fantasy quest type of narrative, but it's genuinely well told. And I was really impressed with the way the writers were able to cover their bases on a lot of things. For example, early on, one of the main characters, Rianne, witnesses the Skeksis doing something evil, but the other Gelfling don't believe him when he tries to tell them. They think he's making this up. But the Gelfling have this ability called dreamcasting where they're able to share each other's memories, and that's how he's able to convince a few people of what he saw. Now obviously you can't have him doing this with all the Gelfling because then the good guys would wise up way too quickly. So the Skeksis take this into account, and the writers present a simple, logical, smart reason for why Rianne can't do this with everyone. And what could have been a big plot hole is easily sidestepped and turned into a really good hurdle that the heroes need to overcome instead. But the best compliment I can give the writing is this. In the second half of the season, there are hints of a potential love triangle. 9 times out of 10, I hate love triangles, and I 100% expected to hate this one. The second I saw it coming, I just rolled my eyes and groaned. I'm like, oh god, here we go again with this crap. But I actually didn't hate it. It's charming and emotional, and there are hints of real tragedy in there too. They actually make it work. I was shocked. Now that's not to say the show is perfect. It does have a few issues. The first one is with the Skeksis, who are portrayed as being so one-dimensionally evil that it's honestly hard to imagine how they were 1, able to con their way into a position of power in the first place, and 2, how they were able to fool everyone into thinking they were good guys for so long. Most of the time, the Skeksis are not even trying to maintain this facade. They are selfish, sadistic, amoral, horrific-looking monsters, and yet the Gelfling are so completely fooled into thinking they're these kind, benevolent overlords that even when the brutal truth is staring them in the face, sometimes they still don't get the picture. Some of the Gelfling I just wanted to smack in the face at times, like, open your eyes, man, these guys are evil! It takes them a while to figure it out. And I did get a little impatient waiting for some of these characters to get a clue. The other issue is the pacing. Throughout the season, there are a few separate plot lines going on, and some move faster than others. The story about the Gelfling princess in the mountains does take a while to get moving, and generally feels less urgent than the other stories for the first half of the season. We also spend a fair amount of time with the Skeksis, which does slow things down, because while they do have a lot of personality thanks to the brilliant character design and voice acting, none of them really develop that much. There are arguments and political infighting and backstabbing and stuff, but not much character exploration. So that's something I would like to see the writers work on. Some of the Gelfling characters are surprisingly complex, and I just wanted to see that same attention to character paid to the villains too, because they're kind of one note right now. But nitpicks aside, I was really blown away by Age of Resistance. This show was obviously a labor of love for a lot of people. There's so much heart and emotion in this project, and everyone involved really went that extra mile to make this show as good as they could make it. You need to watch Age of Resistance if you haven't already, because it is something pretty special. And I think if Jim Henson were still alive today, he would love what they've done here. And I do too. So Netflix, greenlight Season 2 right now and take my damn money. Here, look. This is all the money I have in my wallet right now. Look, it's all the cash I have. Take it! Take all of it! Take it! Just take all my money! And start working on Season 2 right now, damn it! Tell me what you thought of Dark Crystal Age of Resistance down in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe to fight back the YouTube algorithm, hit that bell icon, and follow me on Twitter using the link in the description box so you'll always know when new videos get uploaded. And as always, I'll be back real soon. Over. Out.